What's up guys, I'm JD from Affinity Collective Tech. One of the most important things when it comes to making videos is knowing how to use your camera. Today we're going to go over the basics to using your DSLR to shoot great quality video. Today I'll be explaining the basic settings and general guidelines to use when shooting video on my Canon T5i. However, these settings are nearly universal and will work with any DSLR. One of the first things I do when I get my hands on a new camera is put it into neutral color mode. Most cameras come with a number of different color profiles, however this can make color correction in post more difficult, so I'll always set it to neutral color mode or an equivalent profile. Neutral color mode is self-explanatory. It records all the video in neutral colors without adding any special colorization. This gives you as an editor more flexibility since you have a more accurate representation of the footage. The next thing I'd suggest doing is turning on grids in the options. I personally like the grid on my LCD display because it helps me to compose my shot and follow the rule of thirds. It makes it quick and easy to line up your shot how you want. The rule of thirds is a general rule that states when composing a shot, your subject should only take up about 1/3 of the frame you are working with. Your subject can fill the left, middle, or right parts of the frame, and if the subject is horizontal, it can fill the top, middle, or bottom instead. Keep in mind that this rule can be broken. Aside from the rule of thirds, turning on the grid will allow for an easy way to check that your shot is level with the object you are recording. Pan up or down to a straight line in your scene and line it up with the grid. If the straight line in your shot and the grid line up, your scene is level. Once my scene is set up how I want it, I set my ISO. ISO can hurt the quality of the video you are shooting if it is not set correctly. It changes how sensitive the camera sensor is to the light being let in. When the ISO is increased, it can start to add grain to the footage. Set your ISO as low as you can with the lighting you have on hand. If you don't have enough light in your shot and you have to increase the ISO above 400, consider adding another light source. You can set your camera's ISO below 400 once again. Our next topic is shutter speed. You need to determine the FPS you want to produce your content in and then set your shutter speed as close to that number as possible. We upload videos in 30 frames per second, so we set our shutter speed to be at 1/30. The higher your shutter speed, the more choppy your video will feel. While the human eye can't really tell the difference between 30 and 31 frames per second, there is a huge difference between 30 and 60. If you're shooting slow motion footage or an action scene, then you want to set your shutter speed to something faster like 1/120, so that in post it can be slowed down without losing any frames. Our last setting to change is aperture. The aperture controls the depth of field in your composition and also affects lighting factors. The big beautiful bulbs of light you see in our product B-roll is called bokeh. To create such shots, we increase our aperture to something around 2.8 or as large as we can get the aperture to open, and then we focus in on that subject. This creates a depth of field between the subject and your background. This blurs out the background and helps draw the attention of the viewer to what we want them to see. The only way to become truly proficient with your camera is to practice. Go out and shoot nature on a sunny day. The best light source in the world is the big old burning ball of gas floating in the sky. Think about how you're composing your shot. Make sure to follow the rule of thirds and work with different apertures, shutter speeds, and exposure levels. Make sure to share your work of art with us by tweeting to @AffinityCole. Let us know in the comments below if you have any additional questions about your DSLR, and while you're down there, drop a like and consider supporting the channel by subscribing. As always, we'll see you guys next time.